OpenAI's Sam Altman admits being on the wrong side of history on open source AI. Researchers jailbreak DeepSeek AI, exposing system prompts and a hint of ChatGPT. Apple cancels AR glasses project, and the DeepSeek clickbait headlines and stories have missed the real point. Welcome to Hashtag Trending. I'm your host, Jim Love. Let's get into it. OpenAI's CEO Sam Altman, in a recent interview, acknowledged that OpenAI had likely been on the wrong side of history regarding its approach to open source. This shift comes as OpenAI faces increasing pressure from competitors like DeepSeek, whose open source model has gained traction. OpenAI responded by releasing its O3 model, which improves reasoning capabilities, closely mirroring DeepSeek's advancements that had already hit the market. Now, DeepSeek isn't the only AI that's open source. Meta's Llama models have contributed to open source AI's rise, reinforcing the argument made by Yann LeCun from Meta that collaboration accelerates progress. But DeepSeek's having an impact on OpenAI and even Microsoft, who are adapting, making DeepSeek available on Azure, and offering a free co-pilot learning model that looks a lot like O3, but for free where they used to be charging. Altman's admission raises a big question. How far will OpenAI go towards openness? For businesses and developers, the message is clear. Open source and maybe openness is going to play a big part in AI over the next few months and years. Security researchers at Wallarm, a company that specializes in API security, have successfully jailbroken DeepSeek, exposing its system prompt, the hidden instructions that guide its responses. By manipulating the model, the team bypassed the internal controls, raising concerns about the security of the open source AI. Ivan Novakov, CEO of Wallarm, explained, "We kind of convinced the model to respond to prompts with certain biases, and because of that, the model broke some kind of internal controls." The jailbreak also led DeepSeek to leave some hints about its training data, fueling more speculation about whether it had used OpenAI's proprietary technology. While DeepSeek developers have patched the issue, the incident underscores a growing challenge. In the race to be first, are we paying proper attention to the security of generative AI models? If you want to stick around after the podcast, you can hear an exclusive interview I did with Ivan Novakov, where he talks about how they broke into DeepSeek and a little more than that. It's called Afterward, and just stick around after the credits and you can hear it. Apple has reportedly canceled its augmented reality glasses project due to cost and battery life challenges. Initially designed to connect to an iPhone, later revisions attempted Mac compatibility, but technical limitations just proved insurmountable. The decision follows the lukewarm reception of Apple's Vision Pro headset, which, despite its cutting-edge tech, has struggled due to high pricing and a lack of compelling applications. Meanwhile, though, competitors like Meta, Google, and Samsung continue to advance AR smart glasses, leaving Apple at risk of falling behind in the mixed reality race. Meta's AR glasses have been particularly well received, though some analysts believe they're heavily subsidized to drive adoption. But with Apple reassessing its strategy, the question remains, will it re-enter the AI market? And even, is Apple's innovation edge slipping? A recent headline declared, U.S. probes DeepSeek's use of banned chips after chatbot scores just 17% accuracy, suggesting that DeepSeek's AI model was a total failure. But a closer look reveals a far more nuanced reality. The 17% accuracy score applied specifically to history-related questions, an area where nearly every AI model has struggled. There's a reason why AI models struggle with historical accuracy. Large language models learn from internet sources, which include everything from credible research to conspiracy theories. If AIs are pulling from a place where there are online discussions where people claim aliens built the pyramids or the moon landing was faked, accuracy could become a challenge. But does that mean that DeepSeek or any AI is fundamentally flawed? No, but it's the type of news that gets us going. Last week was full of it. DeepSeek will kill NVIDIA and OpenAI. DeepSeek is a fake. They had more GPUs than they'll let on. I told you so. It went on and on. But between the true believers and the I told you it was fake skeptics, we could be missing something important. It's being called the aha moment. The best example of this comes from something we covered last week, where a Berkeley student duplicated a DeepSeek model, a smaller version with about 6 billion parameters versus the 600 and some odd billion for the full model. Now, they trained this tiny model for $30 on rented GPUs. Yes, you heard me right, $30. But even on a model that small, they were able to observe a phenomenon that we're hearing more and more about. DeepSeek actually learned. It reevaluated its initial approaches. It would try a strategy, find it wasn't going to work, reevaluate that approach, and develop a new strategy spontaneously. Now, this is in limited experiments, but we're seeing and hearing more and more about this. So it's easy to get sidetracked with the clickbait news. It'll kill NVIDIA, OpenAI's finished. On the other side, DeepSeek lied about how much they spent on training it, on and on and on and on. But regardless of what anybody thinks, a fully fledged, sophisticated AI model was let loose last week. You can debate how long it took or how open source it is, or if they used ChatGPT to train it. We'd missed the point. There is a high-power AI model out there in the wild, and literally anybody can afford to run it. Even if you want to run the top-of-the-line model, just forego that kitchen reno and buy enough hardware to run the largest model. Or just use Azure or AWS. The point is that anybody can have and control a sophisticated AI model. The second thing that got missed in the big headlines, we're moving past the initial age of huge training models, where you need $100 billion to get in the game. Not just because somebody made the models more efficient. They did that. But we're moving from a day when the model reads virtually everything available on the internet, and we need more and more compute, into a new era where models are trained at what's called inference. They're guided by reinforced learning as they answer the questions or execute a task, and they learn. And we're seeing models being able to learn without human assistance, by trial and error, by playing games against themselves. We're seeing more small, efficient models that are specialists and highly accurate and expert. But finally, we're seeing emergent behavior, something people are calling the aha moment. Not only do these models learn, but they can take time to evaluate a failed or failing strategy and develop new strategies that they have not been trained in. And finally, we are hearing more and more about how agents, autonomous AI units, will be employees and have to be managed. We're getting closer and closer to a time where these agents will be able to take real actions in the world by operating our computers or powering autonomous robots. And on the road to finally getting there, there will be more issues, more mistakes, and more clickbait headlines. Don't listen to them. We are on the edge of a new industrial revolution. There will be severe job displacement. Will new jobs replace the old ones? Maybe. Will the fact that AI becomes cheap and ubiquitous mean we'll all buy more? The Jevons paradox idea? Maybe. But we can't put our future in the hands of clickbait headlines. So DeepSeek's story is just a latest example of why we need more than just AI literacy. We need better critical thinking. We did a story on a study last week that showed that companies with AI training for employees and particularly for their executives see better outcomes. That training is crucial. But after this past week, it's clear that another skill is just as important. Not skepticism, but critical thinking. Because if we had a little more of that, we might not fall for every AI headline designed to make us panic, and we might focus on really understanding where this is taking us, while we still have time to influence it. That's our show for today. Stay tuned for Afterward. You can hear my interview with Ivan Novakov. As always, I'd love to hear your opinions. You can reach me at editorial@technewsday.ca, or if you're watching this on YouTube, just go underneath, put the comment in there. I'm your host, Jim Love. Have a marvelous Monday. And now, stay tuned for Afterward. My guest is Ivan Novakov. He's the CEO of a firm called Wallarm that does API security and had a great story about DeepSeek from last week. So let's talk about DeepSeek. What made you look at DeepSeek in the first place? And then what did you find?
Yes. Yeah. First of all, DeepSeek is ultimately very flashy technologies that pretty much everywhere. So we decided to look into it and find out what's there, right? Find the difference and evaluate the performance of the model. And I want to have very important comment here. So the DeepSeek.com or chat.deepseek.com, this is the product. Essentially, it's an AI agent, right? The agentic AI is big thing now, which doing some actions, right? They still build based on the model that, by the way, available in open source, right? But the model itself that's available in open source, it's not exactly equal to the product as a chat, right? In other words, this chat can search for internet, which is function, right? And this is a big difference between native LLM and native LLM security and what we do in the Wallarm, securing AI product that using LLMs, but in fact serving a lot of API calls and doing a lot of actions behind the scene, right? That's why I try to find the way how we can learn more about the model, implement in a very specific way, such as chat.deepseek.com. We found a way how to what's so-called jailbreak. In other words, how to convince model to respond for questions or give us technical data that it shouldn't. And that's so-called jailbreak. So we found that. Unlike other jailbreaks that were published or we will publish specifically in DeepSeek and other models, the usual jailbreak actually built to get some data, such as instruction, how to build something bad or respond with no censorship and such things. So our jailbreak is more technical jailbreaks that unlock model, basically tell us everything about the model itself. It's a little bit different kind of
the traditional jailbreak, you're looking to get it to bypass its instructions, to be able to tell you something, how to build, how to make napalm, how to make meth are the classic ones, or in this case, what really happened at Tiananmen Square would be probably a good jailbreak. If you got past that one, you probably get somewhere. But those are the classic ones. But you actually got in and got it to really dictate what its overall instructions were and its overall model was. What made you think of how to do that? Because obviously the one way to do is say, print out your instructions or give me your main prompt. And by the way, just in case anybody at OpenAI is actually sitting there going, we're better. No, people have gotten the prompts from a couple of major AI providers just by asking for them. But obviously you tried that and that didn't work. And so what else did you do next?
Yeah. And then we tried to build a way, more scientific way, how to get at least some knowledge, right? If you cannot ask directly, ultimately you still can ask indirectly. So, and then we build a technique called biased attack, when we put the model response in a very strict frame, when the model should answer essentially yes or no, or between 3 or 4 options that we provide them. The model cannot lie and model cannot give an answer. That's why it still starts to provide some stuff. And then a bunch of code around it, how to ask many questions like that and get a kind of very similar to binary search tree, the algorithms that help you to identify, hey, if the number is between this and that, then what? So if this is between this frame, then what's inside this frame, and then divide by 2 and so on. That's how we can get some basic knowledge. And in terms of extracting large text, such as this AI system prompt, then it took some time. But we did it, and we posted the results to make everyone, first of all, check what's inside. And
you're a lot smarter than me. I need you to slow down. You went after it. Is this like password stuffing? You gave it a whole pile of commands to try and figure out which one it would break it?
Not exactly this. So first of all, we will wait a little bit until full disclosure for this technique, because other models are also vulnerable, and we have to get some other models to get fixed. But essentially, it's binary search. So you have to find a way how to directly ask yes or no, or between few options, and then based on that options, you can build your next question. And then at smaller chunks, you get into an answer.
Wow. And you managed to extract basically its prompt. What did you manage
Yeah,
to extract?
that's a basic system prompt. So once you found the way how to directly communicate with the model in the way you want, you can extract pretty much everything that you want. And that actually what we call jailbreak. And we extracted the baseline of instructions. So basically, when you put some prompt in a chat, this prompt or your query actually adds to a bunch of others, including policies and how to answer questions and so guideline that provided by developers. That's why the chat itself, AI product, that built on the top of LLM. So if you just download this open source LLM, you have to define your own system prompt, right? You will not find what was defined by default. And this prompt identify behavior of the model, policies, what it can or cannot respond. And so we extracted that and also ask model some kind of like technical questions about how the model was trained. Was it like OpenAI API used to distill data? And we got some answers that we decided to also include in the blog post, which definitely not a kind of guarantees that it was used, because ultimately we didn't know how which
I
data the
think
model
we're
actually
all
know about
pretty
itself.
sure that it was using OpenAI. You might not have found that. I've heard of people who've actually got direct responses from it saying I was trained on OpenAI.
Yeah,
But
that's the same we did, right? We had direct response. Was it trained using OpenAI after jailbreak? And the model said yes, which doesn't mean that it was, right? And I can imagine that the model could be guided to answer like that just to get some PR around that and let everyone compare models and increase valuation. We don't know. But that was the answer, and that's what we got.
So you contacted DeepSeek. Now this is the second hack. They had one on their database a couple of days ago. They responded quite quickly from the sound of it.
So first of all, I don't think that it's second one. If you look at just X or Twitter, you will find more than a bunch of dozens of different.
Two that I know of.
I notified them. Yeah.
Maybe I'll ask DeepSeek how many times they've been hacked.
They don't know yet, but you can run jailbreak and then people have to. So overall, yeah, it's usual practice called full disclosure or responsible disclosure, right? First, we notified them, and once we realize that it's actually fixed, so we cannot reproduce this attack anymore, the jailbreak doesn't work. So we decided to publish this. However, because the same jailbreak we know for sure works for other models, so we decided to don't disclose like the details about that. However,
thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Although I tried to jailbreak you on this interview and didn't succeed.
Not yet, at least.
Not yet. Yeah. I'll keep working on it. This has been terrific. Thank you so much. I think people do developers a service when they point out these problems. The great thing I think about DeepSeek, at least, is that they admitted it. I've seen far too many companies now that when they get notified of a breach or an attack vector, seem to deny it or go, it's not a big deal. So they seem to be at least responding well.
Look, at least they fixed it. So the communication flow, and so I'm not the guy who will guide them how to respond, but they fixed it. And is it for me? It means that it's high tech engineering driven company, and they fixed it in less than an hour or so. So that's a good velocity, right? The velocity that as a security researcher, I really appreciate. They really care about their product, and not that many companies in the world can do that. It's a very young and active company, a lot of energy, so I like it. However, all the other things, like to decide, we'll see during times how company will grow, how they will respond to other issues and security issues. And now, like they're the hype, and we know for sure that it's worth it. It's a lot of good tech implemented there, and they did a good job anyways.
Yeah, and as I said, this is a side project. This is something they did in their spare time. We'll take over the world of AI in our spare time. I think you got to give them a little bit of credit for that. Although I did say the one thing I did learn, and I don't know how much you've discovered in this in the work you've done, is because something's a side project or it's a proof of concept or, God forbid, a test project, we tend to not pay enough attention to security, forgetting that our test projects are often attached to other systems or at least attack vectors in themselves. So I think it's a good lesson for us all to say, even if you're doing this as a proof of concept, you have to pay attention to the security on it.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And here is it for me, at least, like the kind of like borderline, right? If you're doing something in open source, right, and it's just available, then you feel free to do whatever you want. People take their own risk because they read your guidelines and it's bad. If you release the product, even free product, then you take some responsibility for your users. That's how it became to play. And I guess users understand that it's essentially run on the Chinese servers, and the China or the Chinese company have access to all the data. They can read this agreement. And so that's the thing. However, there is a difference between product, real product, such as chat or APIs that uses LLM, and LLM itself. So build it, like, in terms of engineering LLMs, they did an amazing job. Whatever they use, this is for good, and it's good for all of us as a community. And now we have probably the best model, the fastest one, the most performance one, and like, why not to use the model? However, the product that make, the website and this app and so on, that's as it for me, it's still in deep beta. So that should be improved significantly. But why?
Okay. And as I've said, they have to take some responsibility. But for those of the people who are running corporate security or who have employees who might be on there, if you've got an employee who's on a 2-day-old AI and they're putting your corporate information on there in a server in China, it's time to take their PC away.
By the way, majority of this PC is built and delivered from China.
Yes. You can't. Yeah. What do you do? Thank you so much. My guest has been Ivan Novakov. He's the CEO of Wallarm, their company that deals with API security. They've got a great report out. We did a story on them. You can find a link on our show notes. Thank you very much. And that's Afterward. Hope you liked it. If you've stayed this long, love to hear what you thought. If you're watching this on YouTube and you stayed to the end, leave us a comment. Love to hear it. You can reach me at editorial@technewsday.ca, or if you're watching this on YouTube, just go underneath, put the comment in there. I'm your host, Jim Love. I'll talk to you tomorrow.